Hi everybody, I am Tamas, an artist from Hungary. I'm currently living in Taiwan, and by the way, thank you for the invitation from the Taipei Makers Fair. I'm very grateful to be able to introduce my art making. By the way, I feel I'm going to represent the fine art makers because actually my work is getting more and more traditional in the last few years because I'm working with metal and the size also growing. So I'm going to focus on my latest exhibition called Art Gym, and but I would like to kind of show the way how I end up doing these kind of interactive artworks. So the first video I'm going to show is a documentation of a project I did it in Tainan City in the Tsongyai Cultural Center in Mado, and it's a space-specific artwork involving the locals, and it is a kind of intervention in a way. So let me play the video and give you some more information about. In Tainan, I've been looking around, and I actually really like artist residency programs because they place the artist into a certain community or a location where the artist could freshly reflect on the culture. And I really like Taiwan, and I like to discover the culture and the history. And this place in Songhai is actually a formal sugar manufacturing industrial region. And when I looked around, I found this missing building. I found the foundation of a building, and then I started to ask around. I figured out that it was a public bath, and somehow I thought about would be nice to visualize the missing architecture. Actually, in general, I'm super interested in perception and the ways of seeing. So most of my artworks are kind of trying to show something invisible. So here I found this foundation, I cleaned it up, and then I started to search for people who might remember how the building looked like. And then an old neighbor managed to draw me a kind of sketch of the building. And I don't wanted to build it up, I just wanted to kind of show what was there before. And let me show another video. The next video will be 360, but I had to reframe it. I thought about that it would be really nice to see what was there before, a kind of like an illusion. And by the way, this metal which I used is the same metal which come out of the ground. And this building built like more than 100 years ago. And I thought it would be very nice to use the same material. This was the first time I really started to work with metal. So I used to work with wood and bamboo, so it was kind of challenging for me to get the skill and understand the technology and don't kill myself with the electricity, although I burned myself a lot of time. But technically I thought a lot about this material, which is everywhere. It's in the wall, it's in the all the architecture or in the urban buildings. And then I saw that we usually don't see these wires, these metal bars, but they are actually protecting us. And I thought it's very interesting to have this invisible protection, this kind of metal net around us, which in a way protect us. And maybe I could also explain that I've been thinking a lot about what color I should use. And I found that red color in Taiwan, especially in Asian culture, it represents some kind of protection, some kind of welcoming, like doors and windows often painted red. Also temples use this color a lot. The next work I would like to introduce before I go into my solo exhibition is a collection of window frames. This artwork I made in Hsinchu City. Let me start the video. So actually I'm living in Hsinchu City now, where I have my studio in the art village, and our art village is actually belongs to the train company, and it used to be a formal warehouse. So right now, I mean, every year artists could apply here, and I been asked to make some kind of public or community engagement. So I've walked around in the district, and I really like these kind of window frames, which are very decorated. Oh, this is the building I'm talking about, Hsinchu City Railway Warehouse. And so this art site is just beside the train track. People really like to come here to watch the trains. And that's where I made this artwork. I used the same metal again, the industrial rebar. And my idea was to research the location and research how many culture could be represented and be captured by these patterns on the windows. Because actually, when I walked around, I discovered a lot of Japanese patterns, a lot of religious or Chinese or Korean patterns, and I also found a lot of indigenous related patterns and nature. And I thought that if I collect them and put them together and create a kind of mixture of them, they would nicely represent the colorful culture we have it in Taiwan. So I spent a couple of time, a couple of days and months to build them up. And this artwork is also quite big. And actually, I have another inspiration for this work. I've been invited to a wedding not long ago, and in Taiwan, there is one job in during the wedding is to create a kind of shadow, or bring a kind of umbrella, a bamboo umbrella to protect the bride from the sun. So as I got this job to be a shadow maker, in this artwork actually I'm also created a kind of shadow maker which project down those different patterns, and then they became one on the pavement, and if we walk underneath it, it could show us really the richness of the local community. This is the way I go back to Taipei where I live, but it's so nice to be able to see the artwork from the train. So I'm gonna still talk a tiny bit about this because I have one more video. Again, it's a 360. I really like capturing the whole space because, as I mentioned, I'm super interested in perception. And technically, I've been working as a light artist before I came to Taiwan, but somehow I got interested in these kind of festivals or public artworks, and now I'm really enjoying creating large-scale installations. At the same time, I'm again playing with the idea to do more light artworks. So basically, this artwork is using natural light and just a very simple phenomenon, the shadow. And it is not that really interactive, but at the same time, we use that stage sometimes to do some performance and some events there. So basically, my plan was to create a space for the community where people can gather and they can kind of get engaged with each other. After this artwork, the next piece which I would like to introduce is called Panorama. This work I did it in Tainan City again, Jali district, where there are also manufacturing companies called Shaolong, and those warehouses are actually bigger and they have a lot of venue. I really recommend to visit both or all these places which I mentioned because they are connecting the culture, the past and the present, and they do a lot of educational programs. They also invite both fine artists and applied artists, so in a way those are really important locations for getting connected to the art scene. So the next artwork, I made a very funny video because working with metal is kind of dangerous. So I really need to think about protection, not just protecting my eyes, but protecting the whole body, because it's basically like a firework. For a whole day long I can watch how the fire flies everywhere. And so this is my safest protection clothes. The gloves is not on yet. And I'm also used actually VR pictures or 360 pictures for my sculpture. So first I visited a lot of locations in Thailand, and then I decided to build them up in a panoramic, build up a kind of panoramic view. When I first went there, I heard that it's very important place for sugar industry, and there are so many factories there and trains. And then I saw that there was actually nothing, none of them are really visible. So I imagined an artwork which could surround the viewer and could tell the story of the sugar industry, how they harvested how they harvest the sugarcane, and how they process it, and how they transfer it, and the buildings were missing. So I had fun on the sun during June and July, hottest season, and then I welded metal together in order to create a kind of, oh, this is the firework effect, to create some kind of panoramic view of the past. But I did it in a way that actually the lines, the perspective lines of the real space and the space we are seeing are aligned to each other. So for example, the train tracks going to the same direction. Let me show more pictures from the video, because this was a kind of work in progress documentation. Recently I'm mostly working and making things by metal, but I'm really interested in interaction, and I want to involve the viewer. So the best would be if I can put the viewer into a kind of creator position, or at least some kind of position where the viewer can see something more. Let me put the 360 walk of this artwork. So technically, when people approach the artwork, they could see it. They could see it on the middle of the train track, and if they stand in the middle and they look around, they could really see. They can really see the past and the present together from the same point of view. At the same time, I want the viewer to see what stayed and what disappeared. And also, the same metal comes out of the ground again, this kind of rebar, so I decided to keep using it. And I wanted to create a very strong contrast between the red and the green nature around. And the funny thing is that during the work, I really experienced the hard labor. Working in the sun, I really needed to have like the bamboo hat, because it's really actually useful. And also I needed to work early and follow the rhythm of the day, because it was impossible to work in noon. It was super hot. So I get really experienced that hard work that the workers probably experienced when they collected sugarcane. After this artwork, I've been ready for doing my solo exhibition, and the location is the Hsinchu City Art Site of Fair House, where I have my studio. You can see it in the background. And my new idea was to do some kind of exercise, some kind of gym. I'm gonna put some video in the background. So I call it art gym because I try to combine the experience of art, watching and observing and engaging with art, and a kind of physical exercise. First of all, my inspiration was that during the pandemic, up until today, we had to adjust our daily routines, and in a way, we had to give up some. But basically, we needed to reconsider how can we keep living and doing things which are became a bit unsafe. For example, most of the gym and swimming pool, they all closed. By the way, the museums also, and people really needed to be creative to be able to keep doing what they like. I mean, what is important for them, and keeping both the body and the mind fresh. I thought about creating some home exercise machine which could help you to keep being fit, and at the same time I combine them with some kind of meaning, deeper meaning. And since I'm learning Chinese for a while, my plan was to use some words which have a kind of philosophy inside. First of all, I made the Chayo piece, which is basically came from the inspiration that people were so supportive, and people encouraged each other during this difficult time. And so the first piece is a weightlifting object where you really need to be brave and challenge yourself to push further your life, even if it's harder recently. And then I made another version which is have the word freedom in it, which also kind of important topic I feel, not just today but almost in every age or every period. Basically, I want people to think about some kind of goals or future related things like dreams they want to achieve. So I did a sit up with or a push up with a dream character, and I also did a one sit up exercise which have the character for spring. This is actually came from poetry where, and also from Chinese New Year, where people put this sign upside down in the door in order to welcome the new spring, which is gonna bring good things for us. And there are other pieces where I combined or separated letters, like the challenge itself combines the picking your own war characters, or I made one where the nature character is overgrown by plants, and it's a flag which we could identify, or things which we want to fight for. And the basketball piece is basically about positive and negative, or yin and yang, where you could either not do anything, or you could still try to push yourself forward and believe yourself in order to achieve those things you are looking for. So this was my short introduction of my work. I hope you find it interesting, and thank you so much again to inviting me to this event, and thanks again for listening.